Okay. So now, so first of all, let me just do one thing. Let me just copy this. So what we are going to cover today, this is filter. So I want to start today with the filter function. Okay, let's see that filter function. Filter function is very useful function. It can customize your data when you are applying the any function, because so far you were applying the DAX function on the entire data, right? So sometimes, let's say if you want to apply the formula only for limited rows, let's say you say that I don't want to check the total of, total of like this, including all regions. I may be interested in looking at the data where I have only east and west zone, the number of rows. So filter is basically used for that. Now, before we start, let me tell you one thing. I will explain the filter function, and then yesterday what we did, we will pick those two functions, also the calculate functions, and we will use the filter in that, because I want to show you that how you can use the filter in calculate or in other DAX also. So you get the understanding that, this is how the filter works. But the same thing, I mean, using the filter function in today's exercise, in those the calculate DAX is not like it's not something that you will always have to do it, because yesterday also when we covered the calculate, if you remember, we had used the criteria, right? We simply said my field equals to this, calculate the total sales. But how to do that with the filter also, this is something I'm going to tell you. Okay, because in this particular example, you may not find that useful. You may say that I will prefer the yesterday one, the formula. But this is how we will have to start. And later on, you see that filter can be used in other cases as well. So first of all, please understand that I told you this last time that the DAX that we use as a measure, this is on the measure. Unless I go and click here and I say that I want a new column here, and I apply some function there, right? DAX is always called a measure. This is where you say DAX is used as a calculated column, because we can apply DAX here also. So that is something we will do later. So filter is generally the calculate or the other DAX functions which we have learned so far. They all return a scalar value, right? They always return a value. If you go to any of these pages, you find that they always return a value, isn't it? But there are some functions in BI which return table also, the entire table, right? Those tables, we can't use them as a measure here, but those tables can be used in other DAX functions. Because if you can control the table, you can do the calculation the way you want, right? So filter is a function which does not return a scalar value. It returns actually a table. It is a tabular function. It is like the filter you apply on Excel, where you can, put the filters checks on any of the header, and then the data will be visible according to your filters, right? So first of all, let me show you what is a filter. If I click here on the new measure, yeah, right? Let's say, and so before we start, what I want to do, as always, create this text. We'll put the filter functions here. Okay. And 1 second. Let me change the sources. Okay, so I'll go and say new measure, and I want to now use the filter. So first of all, we will see how the filter function works. So question number 1 and filter. So filter tax. Let's say question number 0, because I have not actually I've not written here. The question should be, first of all, we need to see how the function actually works. So let me just put this as 0 before I give it the example. So I want to Okay, so it's not allowing me filter working style. Okay, perfect. So let's go now and question number one, filter text. So how the filter function works? Let's type in the filter guys. Okay, how many parameters we have? Table and expression. Expression is again the same thing where you do the comparisons. Like in calculate also we have the expression, right? Calculate. You see where we do the calculation, right? So expression is obviously it's not going to be a table. It's going to be a field where you go and do some calculation or comparison. So anyway, so filter actually is very simple. That filter says that I will return you the table. You just tell me the filter expression, which means you tell me where I have to put the filters. Now, if I suppose use this toy data and I say that, let's say I say that, your category has to be, for example, toys. This is what I say. And I press enter. Now, when I press enter, I get this error. The expression refers to multiple columns. Multiple columns cannot be converted to a scalar value. Scalar value means a value, a fixed value. All the DAX functions which we apply as a measure on this screen, right? They always return a value. However, filter is not a function which returns a value. Scalar value means single value. Because you see, filter, I already told you that filter is a tabular function. It always returns the table, and table can have more than one column, more than one row, obviously, right? So this is not the way. If you want to go and practice on filter, you can't do that here, because this place is only for those DAX which returns a value to you, a scalar value, a single value, something, any value, right? Now, how do I see the filter? I mean, if I have to apply this function, if it is working or not, where I can go and see, is there any way? Yes. So what you can do is, I'm just going to actually remove this from here. You go to the data view, and here in the home tab, you say new table. Okay, not new measure, new table, because it's a table function. So there I put the function like this, right? Filter DAX, right? And instead of the, what I say, DAX, maybe I'll write a table. Okay. Now let me press enter. Now you see that the table has returned a value. So the function has returned a value, right? Now it says toys. Let's say in the toys, I want to check the sales as well. So I say, and because this is the filter criteria, I can put the criteria here, and the sales supposed to be greater than, let's say, 200, like this, or maybe not 200, then maybe 280, for example. Let's see how many. Yeah, so this is how it is. You see that? So we have, I'll increase the number. I just want to show you how this function works, right? So see that when I change the criteria, this will also change. So now this is the table which I have. Now this function is very, very powerful. The reason is, suppose not in just calculate function, which I'm going to now show you today, but otherwise also in any other function also in the coming sessions, if we will use, maybe today or tomorrow, the idea is that if you have this table customized, you can supply this table to any DAX. Keeping the fundamentals, of course, we can't go against the fundamentals. I mean, when I say you can use this inside any other table, it doesn't, any DAX, it doesn't mean any DAX. Obviously, that function should also allow you to use the filter. But the point is, if I supply this table to that DAX, particular DAX, which allows me to, apply the table, because the parameter is table, filter is all about the table. So you will use this this criteria wherever you have to go and supply the table. So if I supply this table, obviously the calculation will be based on this table, not on the entire data. So this is also very powerful. So it means that in filter, I can customize anything. We know the and, we know the or. So we can have any kind of a condition here, isn't it? And finally, when I give this table to another DAX, that DAX will work on this table instead of working on the entire table, right? So this is also the nice way. I mean, this can also save your time, because the table you are supplying is now going to be a table where you have the sales greater than, some specific number. So obviously the number of rows will be less as compared to those 50, 60, 70,000, or maybe a million rows, isn't it? Right? So in this way, also the filter function is very useful. So you always, so one or two times this is not a very difficult function. Just use this function here in this window once or twice, but you don't have to use this every time, right? Because it's a very simple function. You provide the table name and then you give the criteria, the expression that what you want to do in that table, put all those comparisons, and that's it. Okay. So next time, we will not use the filter here. We will directly use this inside some another function. But all I'm saying is, in case if your function is not working, you want to check how the filter actually is, because it may be possible filter does not return you the correct table. So how will you do that? So you can use this new table. Okay. The rest of the functions like calculate, sum, count, whatever functions we have covered, they will not work here because they don't return a table. They return a scalar value. They return some value, fixed value. Okay. So this window is for this. And when initially, when the Power BI launched, and not just initially, even after, since I think, I remember, I think 3-4 years or so, or maybe more than that, after this tool was introduced in 2013 or so, this option was not there. So we used to have a different concept. We used to use these functions in order to check if the function is returning the rows. We used to have some different software. So that was a very, very, difficult task, or maybe something, which always irritates me, that, I have to go to somewhere else and execute that query. So this option is really nice. They put in here. Okay. So anyway, so this is a filter table, and I hope this is very clear, right? Now, filter has no meaning in case if you are not going to use that in some other tags, because filter as a measure we can't use, as I told you. So it always plays an important role when it is combined with some other functions. Otherwise, as an individual, it has no, I don't think so. It's of any use. Okay. Because this I can check maybe for my own sort of some analysis, but finally the number, if I have to publish here, that I can't do directly by the filter. So how I can, go and do that? Let's talk about this. So we will, yesterday we had done a lot of questions. So 2 questions we will check, which is the question number 2 and 3. This we have already seen. Let us do the question number 2 using calculate and filter. So I just want to tell you the combination, how you can use the filter inside the calculate, and then it's all up to you. Yesterday approach was also okay. This approach is also okay, right? But remember, because filter has that capacity that you can provide the less data because it's filtered. So calculation also, it can affect the calculation also. Okay. Now, so the question number 2 was yesterday from the previous sheet. You remember that we calculated the total revenue based on the toys and the animal. So what we did is we used so where is the question number 2? This is the one. We used the calculate, and so you see this is the highlighted one. So this is how I know this is the tax. So we said that calculate, use the total measure, the sum measure, and then provide the category as toys and animals. This is how we did it. So this actually function went into the, this entire table, and it has then started pulling out those toys and the animals categories. And then whatever the data it has summed up, right? So that is how it is. Now, same way, what we can do is, we can also create the same function. So let's go here, new measure. There's another way, what I want to say, of writing this. So question number 2, filter. So I say calculate. I want to sum. So my sum was this function, sum tax, right? And now here, instead of using the criteria, I can also go and say, let me provide you the data, because filter is what? Filter returns the table. So I will provide the right table to calculate, and calculate will then pick the data from there. Okay, it's going to sum the values. Okay, so I will say that the filter, the table is toy data, the name of the table, and expression is, so what I'm looking here is that I want the category equals to toys, or category equals to animals. This is what exactly I want. Okay, and I close the function. Let me drag this here. Drag and drop here. Change this to the visual call this. So in this way also, you can calculate this. It's all up to you. Okay. But in some cases, you find the filter actually is, there's knowing the filter is always, it's worth knowing, because right now you may have a different approach. You may prefer the previous approach we have used, right? But just trying to explain you that filter basically supplies the data. And once it supplies the data, on that data, we can do whatever we want. So this is also correct. This one is also correct. This one is also correct. It's all up to you. Okay. Same way, if I try to answer the question number 3, the question number 3 is refer to the question number 4. How to total the category toys in France and India? Same thing, right? So new measure. So we'll supply the right table to the filter or to the calculate. So question number 4. No, question number 3 actually. Filter tax. Okay. So we'll say calculate and then sum tax. And then here I will put the filter. So I say filter. I'm going to supply this table. Table is the table name and then the field, right? So if you provide the toy data, obviously the fields are supposed to come from the toy data. You can't use any other table, right? Right now we don't have any other table, but very soon we will be having 2 or 3 tables also when we will be working with the data modeling, how to get the information from different tables in the same visual. So for that, we need to know the data modeling relationships. Anyways, so right now, we have our toy data, and here, so for me, basically, the category is, so this is my category. Category is toys. And I put the bracket here, and we say the country equals to India, or country equals to France. I'm just going to close this bracket. One more. Okay. So now I see some problem here. See this? I'm not able to close this. What's wrong? Because this should be highlighted. So this one is closed, and filter is closed. One more bracket. Okay. One more. No, something. Okay, let me press enter. Generally, so here we have filter. Let's keep this. Yeah. So this bracket, I think I forgot to close. Toy data country. Or data country. Pick. What's wrong? Oh, there's some problem. The following syntax occur due to, yes, so invalid. Okay, so what's wrong with this?
I think after France, the apostrophes are missing.
Yes, so this is the reports which is missing. Thank you so much. And yeah, so now it is done. You see, this is what I was looking, that, it highlights that your closing is proper. So double quote is okay, fine. Let's press enter. And so that passing parent, for the brackets, for all those things, the error comes. So that way you know that there's a problem in basically the brackets, or maybe something like in this case, it was a double quote. So let me use the paintbrush. So we have this value here now. 49. Okay, can we check the value here? Right, question number 4. What if I convert this to obviously our whole number? This is what we will get. So filter is pretty easy with very straightforward function. You can use any of the approach right now, okay? But in maybe the coming sessions, when we will know little more about the tax functions, we may use the filter somewhere, and then you should not be surprised, So idea is that if I have a control on my table, that table I can provide to any tax function, which basically, is perfect for that. which is okay for this, the filter. I mean, it can accept that the filter because of its parameter, which is obviously demanding the table from me. So that way we can customize the table, and according to the customization, we can do the calculations also. Okay, so this is how the function actually works, right? So if you create a visual, the visual will also be same. Like for example, let's say I have here age group, okay, and in this age group, let's use this, the question number 2. I'm going to put this value here. See that? Okay, so now the filter context will take place. It's the same thing which we did yesterday. So this is all applying for the toys and the animals, and it's keeping a check on this, the age category also, right? Now, so the one is this thing. So I'll put this visual here, for example, or maybe I'll simply do one thing. I'll put the category here instead of the age group. Okay. See this now, category and auto to filter tags. Now, what has happened here? If I put this in this way, okay, and let me copy this. See, right? So what I'm going to do here, from yesterday, the chapter, which is where next to the question number 4 was the one, right? How to total the category toys in France? No. So question number 3, the sales of the category toys in France. This function, the question number 2, this is our question number 2. Yes, total revenue based on toys and animals. Yeah, so I'm looking for total revenue based on toys and animals. This is the one, right? So now see what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually put that over here, right? This is the number which I'm getting, the same number. Got it? And now see this, the visual, the same categories, but instead of putting this calculate without the filter, I will now use the DAX, which actually giving me the same output, right? But using the filter. So I'm going to use the filter here. I want to show you actually some particular things. Now, if you see this, what do you see here? Animals and toys and animals and toys, but there are some other categories as well, which are available here, right? See, the point is that so you should just know the basic difference. I mean, what it is. I'm just trying to clarify the difference between these two visuals. Otherwise, I don't think so. You will need this in this type of the format, because when I drop the filter function here, which is one of the parameters inside the calculate, the rest of the categories are not coming. So if you need all the categories, you have to know that what is happening here. Basically, filter blocks the everything. Filter, what it does, when you apply the filter, the table which it considers, as I told you, it's a tabular function. So it's a table function. It has its own data, right? So it is going to cut off from the external environment, from the other data, because when I'm going to use the filter inside the calculate, right? Calculate is not going to use the data which is this data, the full data. Calculate, whatever we have asked the calculate to do in the first parameter, that will be entirely dependent on this data. So this data is now locked completely. Imagine that this is one of the another data we have, virtual data, which always gets calculated on the fly, right? Because this data actually is nowhere. If you see this, I can delete this. This has no significance. This table which I created here for you, filter DAX. This was just, I wanted to show you how the filter works, right? But otherwise, if you see this function here, this is all a virtual table, you can say. The table which is being created on the fly, right? It has no real significance. We can't see this data. It always gets created when the query is running, and then just used for the calculation. It's a temporary table, right? So this all gets created. And this is the reason that if you ever put this function in the table, you should not be, surprised with this kind of output. Whether to use it or not, that I leave it to you. That obviously depends upon the, the circumstances. But my point is that you should know that if you apply the filter, if you apply the filter inside the calculate like this, it is going to block the external data. It is going to create its own table, and that table will have the basically its own data. So you will not see the other things over here. Just a small thing. Okay. Otherwise, if I have to show these numbers on the overall basis by using these cards, I can do that. Okay. So this is all about the filter, which means simply provide the table name, and in that table, put the criteria so that table can be, table can be customized. So that is how it is going to be ready for the rest of the calculations. Okay. Now we will come back to this maybe. Let's see. So now we are going to discuss one of the very, very important function, all. This is again very powerful, super powerful. I'll show you how. See, so let's do one thing. Let me create the copy of this. All DAX. This is the name called all. What is all? Ignore all. I should write filters. Okay, what it means. Now see, yesterday also somebody asked me that what will happen if I drop the field in that visual, then, remember somewhere here when we were doing this. So now today, let me show you what exactly is this. Now see, you have a table here. It's very interesting also and very powerful. You will definitely need this in your visuals, dashboards. Now you see, so you have here, let's say age group, and you have here, let's say item shift, right? Nothing new, right? We have this data. Now, if I go and say that, can you give me the age group wise contribution of each age group on the overall process? Yeah. So I want to see that what is the performance of this field, this category. Like it has shipped 5,300 items, but overall it's 26,000. So can I not see the percentage wise the numbers over here? Isn't it? Like it happens in the pie also, right? So if I create the pie, what will happen? If I create the pie, where is the pie? Yeah. Remember, pie is very useful for the weightage contribution. So if I put the age group here and this one, it creates those percentage for me, isn't it? Right? This is the one. So this is what I'm talking. This is fine when it comes to the visual, but I want something else. I want to see here. Now this is a pie feature. So pie does it for me. Pie does it for me, right? But how I can see that here? This is the point. You know the numerator, right? In this case, the numerator is every age group same, isn't it? But denominator is 26,391 for every numerator, for every category. So how I can go and divide this, right? So let's talk about this. Okay. So see, if I calculate the sales, we have already calculated the sales. If you remember, we have already calculated this, correct? So if I go and put this here, this is the total sale. And if I go and put this here, this is what we have seen, the total number, isn't it? This is the number. This is the overall sale. The moment I put this field here, right? Okay, I'm sorry. This is not this. We have to change. This is because we are talking about the item shift. So no problem. Let's create a measure. Because this is for the sales, and I want to talk about the item shift. So I'll say total item shift. Okay, tax, for example, like this. sum item shift. Are you agree with me on this, right? So we can calculate this. Okay. And I'll move this to the today's exercise. This one. Yeah, this is the one. So what I was telling you that, let me remove this from here. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll put the item here, 26,000. Let's select this visual and put this field here. Yeah. Yeah. This is the point. Now see, understand the situation here. Now this is my total sale, right? And I want this to be divided by this, each of these numbers, in order to see the contribution, each of the age group contribution on the overall process. But the problem is that if I simply go and drag this field here, I don't see the total here, 269, 269, 269, because of the filter context, because that is a rule, right? Formula gets calculated based on these values. If I can somehow avoid this, ignore this, the change, the filter context, I can escape from this filter context formula, the principle, and instead of these values, if I can have here 263, 91, 260, 91, 260, 91, 260, 91, 260, 91, then I can simply go and say item shape divided by total item shape DAX. Because right now, if I divide these two fields, we know the divide function, isn't it? We know the divide function. So what it is going to do, it is going to divide this with this, and the result, is not going to be the one that we need. They are fully divisible. So in a situation where you want to avoid the filter context, you say, I don't care whether you have the age group here or any other field, or even the slicer. Remember, we can have a slicer also. Then, in the query slicer will also be considered if I select something in the slicer. You say, no slicer, external filter, no internal filter. Nothing should be there. I just need the total 26,000 in my field. How will you do that then? Are you getting the point? How will you do that? How will you tell the BI that, look, I know filter context is there, but I don't want that. You should give me the value based on my formula, irrespective of what you have kept here. Because you see here, if you see here, I put the age group. The moment you put something else also, again, the filter context will be applied, isn't it? So if I put the category here, for example, what will happen? You will have now the category and the same number will be changed. Because now there are two filter contexts. So that formula which we have kept here, which is totaling the item shape, they will be basically where age group is this and category is this. So that number will change again, right? So this is what we don't want. So in order to do that, we have a all DAX. One of my favorites. When I learned this function, I really then started feeling that, okay, now I'm getting to the point where this DAX is going to be, how this DAX I'm going to use. Because until till that time I have not learned the all, I was pretty confused that, these things are okay, but this is very basic things. But then when I learned the all, my all confusion disappeared. I knew that I've got something very, very powerful. Okay, so let's go and talk about this. So first of all, let me remove the category. Okay, now the same function which we have written here, this one, what you have to do now, see this, what you have to do now. So let me keep this as total item shipped only, okay, but we will not use this. Since we have created, it's okay. Now see this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new measure. I'm going to say that this is my question number 1, all. Okay, this one. So see now, first of all, you want the total. What is all? First of all, see this, table name. You always give the table name here, but what it is, let's come to that point in a while. This table does not do the sum, average or count. This is not for that. It's again, it is going to basically tell the formula where you are doing the calculations, like calculate or whatever, that whatever aggregate function you have applied, I'll return the entire value if you drag and drop me anywhere. I will not consider the filter context. I'll give it the whole number. That's powerful now. So same function which you have applied, calculate, right? Here, we are going to add the value. So I'm just going to use this time sum. You can use the DAX as so it's more readable. So that's why I'm just writing this. Okay. Now here, what I will do, see this. I will say all. That's it. Yes, that's it. All. And I'll say the toy name, the table, which is toy data. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else, guys. Okay. What it means now. Let's press enter. Okay. Okay. There we go. Now, this is question number 1 for the all text. This was the question number 1 for filter. So please, when you look at the formula, you must know that which exactly, the function you are, you want to learn, right? Because all have 1, 2, 3, but they have the different sections. So I'm going to drag and drop this here, first of all. Okay. Yeah. See this. This is the number you're getting. And I think this is the same number which returns us the total sale. Right? Somewhere here it was. Where was it? Somewhere here. Okay, it's I don't know. Anyways, let's go and talk about this. So this is basically 315, which is the sales. And pardon me, this is actually item share. Because we're talking about the item share. Yes. The total item, the number of items which are shipped. Yes, this is the one. So you see, this and this are same, isn't it? This is what? This is a simple sum function. Correct? Right? Now the same function I've used in calculate also, because calculate can also do the calculations, as I told you. But generally, we don't use the calculate just for simply, sum or average. We generally use it when we have if criteria, calculate it. Right? But I told you yesterday also that even if you don't put any criteria, it's fine. So right now, what is the difference between this and this? This is what you have to see. The moment I put here this function, all DAX here, see this, that's now very powerful. What happens? If you apply, so this function, if you apply this one, let's put the function here. See this. This is also DAX, this is also DAX, right? This is the same as when we are using the item shape, the field we are dropping here and we are adding. And this is also the same DAX. It's also doing the same thing because it's again adding the field, the number of values in this field. So both are same, right? So this all applies. So this DAX, when it goes here, it applies the filter context. But in a case of all, what really happens, basically all means ignore all filters. So what it does, it returns the original value. Now once you have this field, this is a field actually. This may not be adding into your the data, but as I said that this is a proper field which gets calculated on the fly. This is not something which basically I have in my table. You will not see this field in your table. The table has only these fields if you go back to this, right? But this is a kind of a field we can say, of course, right? So now once I have this field and once I have this field, or maybe this field, in the numerator I can take item ship also or this DAX also, but in the denominator now I have this 26391. And you can apply any filter. Like suppose if I select this is what? Age group 6 to 1. See this. Right? Remember cross filtering? What is the number for this category? Total item ship 5,000. Same way the DAX applies. But what about this? This is not going to change. Remember 26,000. Because you said we don't care. We don't care whatever the filter you are going to apply. Whether it's coming from external or they are the internal ones. It's not going to consider the filters. As simple as that. Okay? So this is how it is. So once you have created this, can you not divide these two now? Let me remove this. We don't need this now. Yeah. Either you keep the item shape or you keep the DAX. It's up to you. What do you want? Okay. So I can quickly go and divide this with this. Are you getting my point? So I'll prefer keeping this. And I'll remove the field header. We'll use the DAX here. So I can know the contribution. I can know the contribution now. I can simply say, so each category, the contribution. So question number, again, it's the same question number 1, all. So contribution. You go and change these headers, okay? Put them, write something meaningful because this name, if it goes to your audience, they will not know. Contribution. Okay, contribution. So contribution and divide. So I'm going to divide. First of all, I will divide in the numerator. I'll keep this total item shape, right? Which is simple. The total on the field called item shape, the sum, right? And in the denominator, now I will say that there is a denominator, which is this one, which is what? Q1. Where we are finding out again the same thing, item shape, but with the help of the OR. So in the calculate, we have written that. And because we can't use the sum, because in the sum, you don't have that second criteria. In the sum, you always provide the column name. So that's why I have to use the calculate. So I say that this is the denominator. And in case if there is any error, what I want is I want a blank. So you go and write the blank like this. Blank. You can type in also something. Okay, this is how it is. So quarter one, question number 1, all contribution. Using the all text contribution, basically we are checking. Now, if I go and press enter, the calculation, we already know what is going to happen. So let me drag and drop this here. Now you see that we have the percentage. Let's select this particular DAX first of all, and change this to a percentage. And let's keep this as 1. Makes sense, right? Now, when you send this report to somebody, they should not be bothered about this. This is just a denominator. This is for you. So I can remove this, right? See, removing this from here will not affect the calculation. Calculation is happening on the fields, these DAX, and they are there. Whether you put them in the table or not, they are there. They are created. This is just for you. I wanted to show you. So when you will go and show this, I mean, when you create the dashboard, you will, I mean, put the picture in this way that each of the zone has this picture. I mean, the same item shape, and the overall contribution is this. So obviously, audience know this is basically this divided by this, but they don't know how exactly you have done this. Are you getting the point? Right? And this is 100% because overall numerator also is the addition of all these fields, and the denominator also. We have the field, the same field, I mean, this way. So we can easily now see that any filter, if it applies, whether from here or any slicer or from here, this particular thing, this all will have no changes. Okay, but for your understanding, I'm going to put this back in. So when you practice, you should know what is happening. Okay, so let's, okay, sorry, same thing I went to this one. Yes, because now it's easy for you to revise what is happening, but we'll not show this to our people. Okay, so this number, we can use anywhere now because we have created a DAX for this. DAX is there. I can use this on any calculation. Now, suppose somebody gives you a question that on the overall process item shift, I like to see what is the contribution of, let's say, country India, just India on the overall, for example, right? So on the overall, if you have to just, show, if you have to create a formula, you can use the calculate. In the calculate, you say country equals to India. So that gives you the total sales of the country India. And then that you can divide with this. So once the DAX is created, it can be reused. And this is what I was telling you before. Okay. Now this type of a thing you can't use here in the fields. Remember on our first day in the DAX, when we started the DAX, I was telling you that the question may come in your mind that why I'm using some DAX when I can simply drag and drop the field here, right? Because we were learning, so we had to cover the basics. But this type of a thing now, can happen only in the DAX, where I can have a total. So this is simply to ignore all the filters. Now, what if this is fine, but what if your management also want to see the same thing, contribution, in the form of maybe a graph? Are you getting my point? Right? So you can do that as well. So this I don't want to delete this actually. So you see, if I have here, let's say I create this, let's say the line chart. Yeah, line chart. And I say that in the line chart, I like to see the trend, which is from my date, right? And in the date, let's say I prefer using the year. This one. Let's see that. Now, if I put this here, this is what you see. 2020, 53%, and 21% here, and 25% here. Let's go here and remove this. We don't need this marker and data label. And I don't need the grid lines also. Yeah, I'll keep this like this. So now what is happening, guys? Who will explain in this? I mean, of course, you can see the graph is there, very nice, but do you know what is happening? I mean, how this number is coming? 53, 21, because you see here, we have different numbers, obviously. Here you have the numbers based on the age group. Here you have numbers based on the year, right? So, I mean, how this calculates this?
Because I think we had taken the entire table in all. Then is like going the year wise also.
So this number, how is this 21.2%? How it is coming?
So the formula is sublight filter context, which is distributing amongst the year.
Which formula? Which formula you're talking about here?
Right.
Repeat that. 21.2%, how this number is coming? And this 25.1% and this 53. This I want to know from you. This is my question.
But actually, it is using the same formula like divide. Basically, it is showing the contribution of items shipped year wise. Like in year, this 53.7% we contributed in items shipped, and in 2021 and so on.
Basically, guys, what you have dropped here, that's called Q1 all contribution. What it is? This is the formula, right? Which says I am dividing two things. In the numerator, I have total item, and in the denominator, I have total item based on, of course, the filter context, whatever it is. In this case, it's 2020, 2021, 2022, isn't it? So when you drag and drop this particular thing, this one, this simply gives you some number, which is actually nothing but a sale item shipped in the year 2020, right? Let's say that number is 100, right? But then that 100 which we are getting here in the numerator, that is divided with the overall number of the process sale, which includes this and this and this item shipped, which means obviously 26391. And same sale happened, item shipped happened in 2021 divided by 26391. Are you getting the point, right? So this way, whatever the percentage comes, the graph gets created. Because ultimately, I want you to see the contribution based on the overall process. So if I will not put the all, I will never have 26391 in the, because understand, if I don't put the all, then this will be 100%, this will be 100%, because same will be the numerator and same will be the denominator because of that filter context. Like for example, let's say instead of the Q1, what I will do, let's do some changes here, let's put this function, total item shipped. Now, if I go and put this field here, are you going to see any percentage? You're not going to see, first of all, the percentage, right? You will simply see that the numbers. You see that? Now, this is what exactly it is. 14,000 is the sale, which if you divide with this, the number comes around. So 14 is almost the half of 26. Not half, in fact, more, because 14 multiplied by 2 is 28. So this definitely the number, if I calculate on the overall basis, it's going to be like, I think, more than 50%, isn't it? So what was it when I drag this here? Yeah, see, 53%. Right? Well, you can also, just in case, if you still need more example, better picture. So what I can do, I can put one more table here. here. And so what I'm saying is that here you have the item shape, and here you have the year, this one here. So in the numerator, this is the number which is going, and in the denominator, this is the number. So if I put this here, this is what is happening. See, right? Where is the, this one. This one. This is the visual form, this is the tabular form, right? So that's why I was telling you that when we create the DAX, we can also have these fantastic visualizations, contributions. Okay, I mean, this is just the one of the way. If I don't put the year here and if I put any other field, obviously in the numerator, if you see this formula, see the formula that you're using here, this goes here and then it starts working based on these filter context, the labels, as I said always, right? But if you have controlled the data in a different way, then those, obviously, the BI will not go and work against your own the rules, right? Like here, you said this is my formula: divide total item with overall process, this DAX, right? So when it calculates this based on 2020, the first field, the numerator which it checks, it finds that this is a simple DAX, which is just using the sum DAX. There's no all here, right? So it does the same thing. It says that find out the total item shift where year is 2020. And that is the number which it calculates on the fly, which is this one. Then it goes in the denominator because this is a complete formula. It has to evaluate every part of the formula. Then it goes here and it finds that, okay, so this DAX is what? Then it goes here and it then find out the total again, the same, the total. But then it finds out my user has put the all. It's like in Excel, you put the dollars in front of the row. So row numbers will not change when you drag the formula in the downward direction. Excel know it. Excel then does not apply its golden rules over there. Excel gives you the preference. So there also, I mean, when it sees it's all, so it means that now forget about this, whatever it is there. I will give the total of this item shift from the process. Now filter context will not work because I have clearly explicitly mentioned here, right, that avoid any type of a filter context, because that is why we have the all DAX created. So it means in the numerator of this DAX, everything remains the same. I mean, it remains the overall number. And that's how it is able to give you this calculation.
Sir, can we put the column name also in all instead of data?
No, I see, though it says the column name, but I've seen that by using the column name, it does not do anything. So I always prefer this using the table name here. Always give the table name, full table name, because all basically the purpose of the all is to not consider anything, any filter, ignore everything. So basically, whenever you need the total, in other words, we can say, whenever we need the total on any field, we want to use that in the denominator or in the numerator. I don't know that anywhere. If we need that process, the number in calculation, and we need that number should never change, because the moment the filter context applies, you know that those numbers changes, and we don't want that. So always use the all with the table name.
Okay, so if we give the table entire table, so I think that will not going to take a filter from any other column from that table, right?
Yes. And I tried also putting on your the thought that you have. I also have thought that so in the all, if I provide, because this is the on function. See, I had tried it, I couldn't get a success, and I also, I mean, I didn't find anything on the internet also where people have used in the also what he's saying that can I just, because it's just a table or column name, so can I just not go and provide, I mean, any, let's say for example age group here. I have tried all this, right? I mean, it's not viable. It works the same way. So putting this also, I mean, this if I put here, or if I just keep the table name here, so all actually what it does, it completely ignores the filters from every column. So, and I also have not seen any article or any, anywhere in the reports also that I've ever seen that all function when we are using it is taking some column. Okay, so it always goes with the table. Though they have mentioned this, I'm not saying, of course, there must be a reason, but that I do not know, because for me, the simple concept is that if I have to remove all the filters for some reason, for some calculation, I'll just provide the table name to the all function, and I will not go in the column field.
Okay, sir.
Any doubts we have on this, guys? You understand the all, right? It's very powerful. And okay, so now see this one more thing. This is all fine. Now, one second. Text box. I just want to put this here. This graph we have used for this purpose. I mean, how the calculation is happening. Okay, this is for this. Okay. When the visual changes, a lot of, the entire thing, these calculations based on the visuals, they automatically changes. Like here, see, it looks so different. Here it looks, different. But overall, the numbers are the same. Now, one more thing. Again, this function I have not used much. I don't remember when did I use this last time. But the function is there. So let's cover that. Who knows, maybe you will find the need of it. So I'm going to now show you the all selected tags. This again is an all family function. One is all selected. What is all selected now? All selected, again, I'll just explain you the functioning, and anytime if you will find the need, you can use it. So let's clear everything. Okay. Now you see in this case, I'm keeping the same table here. Okay. So contribution, let's remove this. We don't need this. Yeah. So we have done these things, how to evaluate each age group. And have I given the right name? No, I think this should be the question number 2. Contribution. If you change this name here, don't worry. Wherever this DAX is being used, that will automatically change. So this is again the benefit. This is again the benefit. Okay. So just don't forget to scroll this. Okay. So this is both the things we have done. Now, what is all selected? All selected is also part of all family. Not really. I've used much, but let's see that what it does. So if you see, okay, so let's have some notes here. Yes, all selected. Now, see here, what is happening. If I put the slicer in, let me show you. Let's say I put the slicer date. Okay. This one. Okay. And why it's giving me just 2020? It created the copy. There's no filter there, I hope. What's wrong with this? Let's go back here. Here. That's very strange. Well done. Okay, I'm so sorry. I think I'm using the wrong table. Okay. So, yeah. So we'll put the date here. Yeah, perfect. And I'll change this to first of all, slicer. This is not a slicer. Yeah. And let's now go to the slicer section. Vertical edged. Perfect. Now see this. Now, what do you want actually? First of all, I'll tell you the requirement. Now, and let's get that thing. This contribution also here. Yeah. And this also. I think I will need this. All tax. Yes. Now see, this total never changes, right? If I select 2020, what will happen? This will change 5381, 5621, because here we will have the item shift based on the year. But this will not change, right? If the numerator will change, obviously the contribution will also change, isn't it? So that is okay. Nothing new here in terms of the information. I mean, just a basic thing, right? So, I mean, if you select this, numerator will change because we have applied the all in the DAX. Nothing will be filtered here. This number will remain the same. However, this will change because this is simply the total, and the total will always be based on these filter context. Now, the question is that if sometimes, let's say in your the visual, what if you want that based on the year you select, or even if you select 2 years, this total should be your denominator. How will you do that then? Which means right now I'm looking at the data based on 2020. So this is telling me the contribution based on the entire process, which means that 2020 plus 2021 plus 2022 sales item shift, the total, isn't it? But let's say I also want to analyze my data based on that the item shift which we have for that category, it should be on the total of that particular year, not on the total of the process. It means if I can have a DAX which can give me 14162, because I've selected 2020 in the denominator, that number, if that is, I mean, something I can get, then I can again go and divide this total item shift DAX with that DAX, because there also the number will be on the total. But this time, it's going to be what you have selected here. So if somebody selects 2020 and 2021, the number will change. So that means this number now should act like as a denominator. So the total sale done for this age group, 4055, between 2020 and 2021, should be divided with the total sale done between the same years, but on the overall process, which means including all the age group. Simply 4055 divided by 19,000. This number divided by this. Right? See, this number will always change. We don't have to really worry about it. Because this number, if I select 2022, this will give me the sales of 2022. But what is the contribution then of this category on the 2022? That I want to calculate, because this will never give you that thing. Are you understanding the situation here? It's a very different situation, right? Maybe you want to see the two level contributions. One is on the overall process, which means, of course, covering all the years you have, 5 years of data, 10 years of data, whatever you have. And on the other side, you also want to check that each category contribution based on what you have selected. It can be 2000, it can be year, it can be any other thing as well. Like for example, if I create one more slicer here, we'll use only one, but I'm just telling you that if you may have more slicers here, like one slicer can be on, maybe on the country, let's say, right? So now what is going to happen? The number will change. The number will change here, this one. This will never change. We don't have to even look at it, right? If I select 2020 and if I select France, what will happen? You will see the sale of the France only, right? So this number will change to 2231, because now overall the age group from these age groups under the country France, how we are performing. This is the denominator now. But how I can get this denominator? It's very simple. You don't have to do anything. There is a function called all selected. The moment you put the all selected, what will happen? That whatever the context, whatever the filter we will apply here, it is going to pick that total for you of that selection. And that is what we needed. So anytime if you want to see the contribution, not on the overall process, but on the what you have selected, here it's like year, you can do that. Okay, I'll delete this. because I'll just keep the one filter. How to do that now? I mean, how to write the formula? Okay, so we're talking about this. Let's scroll down. This one. See that? Just the formula and same thing, table name. Okay, so let's go back here. And this time it's all selected. How to get the total of what is being selected in the slicer, and then find out the contribution of each category against what is selected. This is the question, right? So we will simply go and say same thing. We have to sum, and we have to sum the total item shipped this one, and the filter will apply all selected. This is specifically for the purpose of seeing the total based on what you had selected, not on the overall process. So I'll give again the name toy data, and that's it. I'll close this. And this is my question number 1, all selected. They have given you all the options actually from the calculation perspective. Let me press enter, right? Now let's see that. I'll keep these fields also here so we can have a clear understanding. So where is my all selected? Yeah, this is the one. So I'm going to drop this here, and I'll remove the contribution. We'll put that later. Now see this. See this. Right? First of all, let me do one thing. It's just I'm kind of not liking this format. Let's go to the cell elements, specific column. Let's say I just want to put them in the center. Apply to total, apply to header. No, this is the header. That's okay. I mean, this is the row. Yeah, this is the one I want. Just want to put them in center. Yeah, this way. Same for this. Fine. All right. And this is okay. Leave it. Then I have to do for every header. Okay. This is how it is. Now see this. Total item shipped based on the filter context. Right? Let's revise this. Total item. Because what is the formula? Simply sum. So the moment you drop the sum here, it checks, use this formula, apply this formula where age group is 0 to 6. Very nice. Then the quarter 1 all tags. Then again, it drops when we drop the formula here, it goes there and say that apply this formula where the age group is 0 to 6 months. But wait a second, my user said that it's all. Ignore the filters. Okay. So then it means that it believes there is nothing here. If there's nothing here, it means it's simply going to give you the total, ignoring the filter. And that's why we see here 2639. Right? Now, why do we see the same value here? What is the logic? Well, if you see this formula, what it says that, again, you have to find out the total item shape, but based on what is selected. Right now, since there is nothing we have selected, so this, if I have selected nothing, it means obviously everything is selected, isn't it? Because it's telling, it's right now it's giving me the numbers from 2020 to 2022. But the moment I select any field here, we should see the change. Now you tell me, if I select 2020, what will happen to this field, what will happen to this field, and what will happen to this field? I don't need the number, but I just want you to know that, what do you think? Will the change happen? And if the change will happen, like it's going to be what?
The
First of all,
third column is going to change.
Yes, this will change. Very nice. Because this is a filter context. So what will happen? This sale will go down because this is a sale right now, including all years. The moment I select 2020, it's going to be less than what we have right now because it includes all the year. So this will change, filter context. What about this?
It will not change.
Very nice. Now this is freeze. Like in Excel, you put the dollars in front of row and column. This will never change. And this is so simple now to remember. And what about this?
Sir, here we use the number of first column total.
Yes. Who has answered this?
Shahrukh, sir.
Huh?
Shahrukh.
Sharo. That's why name is Sharo. So if I put here 2020, what will happen? This is the filter context because normal calculation, this will not change. But here what you have said, you said all selected. This is the formula, right? So the moment I select this, it's immediately going to check what is the sale in the 2020, which means that basically here, it's going to put the filter in the year for 2020. Where is it? Here, right? 2020 and all the dates of those 2020, it's going to give you the total. Now we don't have to go here because, we have this grand total already available here. This is the beauty of this, the table visual. Unless I go and off it, it remains there. So what is the total of 2020, guys? Yes. So if I now divide this with this, what will you get? Contribution of these categories based on that particular year which you have selected. This is also very useful information, isn't it? I mean, you're seeing the category on the overall also, but at the same time on that specific year also. That how it did it, in 2020. Because you see, percentage tells us the clear picture, not these numbers. From these numbers, I will not be able to understand what is happening. Right? So if I select 2021, see this changes, right? Because in 2021, overall sale happened was this 5606, which now goes here. Now we just need to divide this. So I can have two divide functions here and I can remove these two. So you will simply see the, percentage based on the year selected, percentage based on the overall. Headers obviously are going to play a very important role. Can we do this now? Let's do this. Creating a DAX it can take time, but dividing them or multiplying them or adding them, it's not a big thing because you have already done the job. The hard work you have already done. So now what I'm going to do, so where is my, this all selected. So how to get the total? Yes, we have seen and find out the contribution percentage. So I'll keep the question number 1 as it is, this question number 1. I mean, don't start writing here because it's going to overwrite the formula. Please remember, if you want to copy the formula, you can, but go to the new measure. I mean, don't write anything over there. It's going to overwrite the function. So this is all DAX and this is question number 1. And what I will do, I will put this as question number 1 actually point 2. Let me put this way. Okay. First question, but again, the second part. So we'll simply go and write divide. Numerator is, as you know, that the total item shipped. Again, you can use the sum also, but you can't use the field. I mean, you just simply can't use the field. You have to write some aggregate function or DAX here because this is going to divide. Divide means two numbers, and those two numbers can't be any two row numbers, any two, the values taken from any of the your data. They have to be a total. Aggregation has to be there. So that's why either you use this or you can use sum and then start bracket and item ship. Denominator. So denominator is my all selected. So I'm just going to type all selected. There will go. So this is the 1. And I guess we're done. And let me press this. And this also, I keep this as 1 decimal. Now, let's see the values. So first of all, I'll put that all selected. This one. So I'm going to put first this. This is the overall contribution to 1691. First, let's put this here. Remove all the filter and now all selected. This one. Okay, there we go. And what happened here? The percentage, I thought I had changed it. Okay, maybe it didn't allow me at the time of before I pressed enter, right? But yeah, okay. So now, all right. So yes, so there we go. Now see this. This is my sale filter context. This is overall sale, very nice. And this is again the same. Right now they look same, obviously because you have not selected anything. So all selected means that you have selected all, right? That's where we see the same percentage. But the moment I put the 2020, we should see a change. And there we go. See that? Obviously here the denominator is going to be bigger because it's a process wise. And here the denominator will be smaller than the, this one, because this is based on the 2020. So when I remove this and this from here, all these two, and I will just show your contribution based on the process, your contribution based on selection that year, I think it's going to be a very, very good data insight information. Yeah, right? So this is how it is. Right? So it means that this category has performed pretty well based on, well or whatever it is, but looking at the data like 20, 21, 22, 20, I think almost all the categories have performed very well or very bad, I don't know, but they are almost same. I mean, there's no big variation. And when it comes to the overall process, again, if the lowest point is 9.5 and the highest is 11, again, this means that either the process is going good or the process is not at all doing. Because if this is also, let's say this is the very good sale, then this also, you can't say it's bad. They are very near. And if this actually is not meeting the target, then everything is worse. Okay. So this way we have now the privilege that we can use the total from the process also and the total based on your selection also. So you have now two functions, more control on your data. Right? If I put more slicer here, again, all selected will work based on that selection. So if I put the slicer here, let's say one more slicer I'm putting, and this, let's say it's the country, right? This is my slicer. Now, 2020 in France, what has happened? This will not change. This, of course, will change. If this will change, the total will also change, and that number will change here also. That is how it is. So let me select France. See that 2231 goes here. If I select India, if I select two countries, again, see the total is India and New Zealand, the sales, the item shipped, actually, the number of items we have shipped, 4,000, and the same thing goes here. This we don't even have to look at it. Are you getting the point? So this is how it is.
Sir, this only works on the slices, or if we have table on other side, and if we do click on some age group, it gets filters to the other region as well. So will that work in that case also, sir?
Repeat the question, sorry. Speak louder.
Yeah. So the function all selected only works on the slicer, or it also reacts on the visual level. Like we have two visuals on, say, two tables on one single page, and if we just click the age group to that other page, and
yes, it should work. Of course, it should work. It's no slicer and slice. Why I use the slicer term? Because we use slices generally for that. But let's say, suppose that's a good question. Suppose now, let's say we don't have any slices, guys. Okay, let's say I'm just not using them, so I can delete also them right now. Okay, because if I delete them, the data that we see here, this is on the overall, isn't it? So this all denominator. That's why you see here these two numbers same, because all selected means nothing is selected right now. So it means everything is selected in a way. Now, if I, let's say, put the slides from some different visual, and for that, let's say I pick something called, okay, so let's pick this the bar chart. Okay, bar chart. Yeah. Now see, I'm going to have this here, the country. Let me use this country, and let's say I put here something called cost. I mean, there's another graph. There's another graph. It has nothing to do with this. This is a graph we have in our dashboard, right? Now, the question is that if I select India, what will happen? Let's try to answer this. Good question. First of all, let me put the borders here. Somehow I'm very, when I teach, I don't know, I feel the border should be there. Very otherwise distracted. Okay, now see, if I select India, you know that the cross filtering will happen by default. That's the Power BI power, the advantage. So when I select India, what will happen to this? We all know the number will change, correct? Because of the filter context. What about this all? Oh, this will never change because this is all. Very simple. What about this now? It's the same thing if I select here India, and now if I select here, see, if I select here India, you see that this goes here. Make sense, guys? Right? If I select France, right? See, I was preferring the slicer because ultimately slicers will go in the dashboards. Generally, people will not use these for cross filtering. They prefer the slicers. That is how it is. But this is also one of the features that if somebody wants to cross filter the data, they can do it from here also. But generally for these, I mean, to control your data, to change the data, to look at the different options, yearly, monthly, people generally prefer slicer, but it does not mean that they can't use this. Of course, you can also use this if you're not fond of the slicers, right? So the concept remains the same. It's not for the slicer. Basically, I'm using the word filter context, right? Now the filter context can be here also, can be here also. Hope you have got your answer.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, now one more thing I want to tell you. I told you that I have not really used the all selected, but it seems a good information, right? Generally, I have used the overall, I mean the all function, because most of the time client demanded the based on the total, irrespective of the filters. But again, I mean, this is there. One should be clear about these things, that what I'm going to use and what I'm not going to use, right? And please remember, when you share this data with somebody, we will never go and show these headers here. I hope you agree with me, right? We will simply show that age group, total item, and please no underscore dash. It has to be bold field, right? I mean proper meaning. So here you will say total item shift, total, or you can say total item shift, and then here you can say that based on selected category, contribution based on selected category, right? I will also teach you. There is a DAX which we can use, which is very powerful in such cases, that if I select India, then that I can also have a title which says you have selected India. So basically, you can also say that this is telling you the overall, this is telling you the contribution of category based on country India. This is telling you the contribution based on New Zealand. Automatically, the field can also be changed. There is a DAX for that, which can capture these values when you select. Okay. Anyways, so the last point now is for today's session is that there is one more all function, and this is the last one, which is all except. All except. So one more DAX we have, all selected, and all except. So what it is. So now in this particular case, I will not create these. You have understood this. I'll simply show you what it does. Okay, rest you can do. If in case if you have to insert in calculation, I'll just keep these functions like this. And for this, let's say I use so these two slices I'll still use. Let's cover this. What is the question now? Now you know that we can ignore the filters from everywhere. Wow, that's great. You know that we can also get the selected filters into a total. So ignoring is one thing, getting the selected ones is another thing. It's the opposite. That also we have done it, isn't it? Right? All selected. Now what is left? One thing which is left, what if you are using two slicers here? You can be using 3 also, 4 also, I don't know. And you know, these slicers are not just for this, but they are controlling the other visuals also, maybe 5, 6 more visuals you have created, and all will change. But let's say in this particular table visual I'm talking now, I mean the calculation that I want, from that perspective I'm saying, you want that one particular slicer, or cross-filtering, I should say, not the slicer, cross-filtering, should be ignored out of those 3, out of those 4, right? Now we have 2. So what I'm saying, if you select 2020, you want the number should change, right? But if you select France, for that particular field, country slicer, country filter should not take place. So keeping few of the cross filterings and avoiding the few of the cross filterings. Is it possible? Yes, all except. This is where we use the all except. So I can tell the all except, look, all except, you have to filter, you have to consider year only. And if user puts here any filter, don't change the number. Of course, the other visuals will change, but I'm talking about my calculation. Because maybe I'm interested in looking at only the year or that particular value. Are you getting the point? Because you see, there can be 100 of the visuals you have created. I mean, suppose one of the visual you have created here, and you are showing here all that, the contributions. But on the other side, there is some other visual also which you have created, right? So for example, we have created this. So here I'm going to put the age and the cost and the sales. Actually, I should put the sales here and the cost here. For example, like this, isn't it? Now, you know that if I remove this will change. This will also change, right? If I put it 2020, this is going to give me the data based on 2020. And if I further select India, what will happen, guys? This visual now will start giving me the data based on India in 2020. So what I'm trying to say, I have kept these two filters for some reason. But for my calculation, I don't want that one filter like country should affect that. However, at the same time, I want this should affect. I mean, this should control my numbers, but this should not control my number. How this is possible now? Now, you may say that, okay, so remove the country. Why do you need the country? But that's what I'm telling you. Country is required for other visuals also. So you can't delete this just because you don't want this to be this filter context coming from the country slicer just because of the fact you do not want this that it should influence your numbers, should change your numbers, right? So we can't remove this. So how to do that? How to make sure that one filter context coming from one slicer should change and the other should not. And the same with the others. So how are we going to do that? Well, this is what we have here. So we have covered the all selected and the last one is all except. Okay, all except. So in this, now you provide the table name and then after that you provide the field name that you do not want. Anytime, because you see when you apply these functions, you may get some sort of those what you call confusions, because it needs practice. So that's why I've written the name also, the definition also, that what it is going to do. All is very simple. Remove everything, ignore everything. All selected again. Whatever you have selected, go by that. Whatever you have selected. Otherwise, that too works like all, if nothing is selected. Right? So only in the case of all except, it's like whatever you put here that you do not want. So it means I'll put the toy shop and I'll say in the toy shop, in the next parameter, I'll say this is the country. So what will happen? The country will never change that field if I select. But the others, they will change. Okay, that is the point. And after this, then there is no other thing. It completes completely, when it comes to calculating the numbers, controlling the data, you have everything now. So let's quickly go and do this, the last part. So we do measure and question number 1, all except. Now you have a good work which will keep you busy in this entire week. So we'll write calculate and again I'm writing sum, item shape, and I say all except. So in this case, please first give the table name because it doesn't say table name or column. It says table name only. Right? So we'll provide the table name. And now here I can write column 1, column 2, whatever. So whatever the names I will write, those filters will not affect the data. Right now I just need the country one. So I'm just going to write the country header. Okay. So this means that all except this. Right? All except this. So the country filter, let's press the enter. And one more, I think. Yeah. So let me show you this here. And let's keep this, want to give some weight. So all except, let's put this here. See that now. Right now, all numbers are looking same. You know that the reason. All obviously the total, all selected, nothing is selected. So that's why it is there. All except again, because right now you have not selected the filter which should be avoided, which basically it says that I'm not going to work. Now, suppose if I select 2020, see what's going to happen. Look at this now. 2020. It's still giving me the same 26391. This number changes because this goes with this 14612, right? 2020 is not, it's not affecting. Let me just clear the selection. Now I will go and put this France. Now see what will happen. The moment I put the France here, this will go with the France. Yes, this will not change because this is overall. This will show me the total of the France, whatever it is. And the other part, this will also change because country France is 4915, correct? But now if I change this to 2020, what will happen? This will change because now further we have one more filter, which is in the France also. Let's talk about 2020. So this number, this value will be then smaller. The value will reduce. 2020 number will reflect from the France. This will not reflect, right? And what about this? This will also change. Are you getting my point? This will also change because what you have selected is basically 2020 in France. But this will not change because you said that other than the country, no other filter should be applied. All except. Okay. So if I put this 2020, this is changed. This will not change. You know that. This is again changed 2231. But what about this? This is not changing because it is not going to consider anything other than country. When I was explaining you the function, I think I did the reverse way. So where is the function? Basically, I don't know what I said, but this particular, what you put here, I mean, that will be considered. The filter context will come from that particular thing, right? So if I say, for example, that, okay, that's why, they have given us these options, that the number of columns you can write here. Suppose I have 20 slices. Out of those 20 slices, I want to cut off the 10 slices filter context. So I can put the rest of the ones here. Only those will be considered. So now, for example, this filter is, this slicer is here, right? So what I will do, I will say the date. This is my date, right? In the date, now I will select the year. Very delicate point. Everybody pay attention. You know that we don't have the year column in our data. It's all because of the function. We have the date hierarchy, the Power BI creates, right? Actually, there's no year field. It's simply the dates, correct? Now, if you're applying the date filters here, you must go and mention that from the date, what exactly you want to consider. So that's why this pop-ups comes. Generally, these pop-ups, the sub divisions, you can say from the main category, they will not show up. But in case of date, they will. Because who knows what you're using here. You may be using from the hierarchy, quarter or month. So that's what they give you. So make sure we just do not leave the data like simply date. Because in the date, we are using year. So I'm going to put the year here. Okay. Now what it means, the moment I press enter, this will also influence the data. Okay. Let's click here. And you see now, this and this both are same. Why they are same? Because you are saying that here in the all except, I'm saying that everything other than these two should be ignored. So I have put here two filter context, whether they are coming from slicer or from any other thing. It doesn't matter. Are you getting the point? So you can put all those the headers here in the all except, and that will basically influence the data, and the rest of the things will not. Like for example, we have here now 2 to 3 years. This is a terrific example. Remember, this is 2231. If I select 2 to 3 years, see that this is still 2231 because it said I'm just going to work on the country and the year cross filtering. I will not work on the age because my user has not asked me to do so. However, the rest numbers can change. This obviously because you selected 2 to 3 year 535, and this is what exactly goes in the all selected also, because all selected will work on all the combination in the country France, year 2020, and the age category 2 to 3 years. Tell me what is the total. Obviously the total is this, but this is not going to take this filter context into which calculation, right? So it means now at the end of the day, before we wrap up the session, you have got the control from almost, I think from every angle. You can avoid all the filter context. You can include all the filter context by using all selected. And you can also include specific filter context and exclude specific, or I say the rest of the ones, whatever you have not put in the formula, obviously those will be excluded. So now you have the flexibility, you have the power of doing any sort of calculation. Now you can do, right? So now, so as I said that, I mean, right now in this all exit, I'll keep this here. So you always remember, but what I will do, because this is special, you have to, this when you write the date, the pop-up automatically comes. So from there you choose this. Otherwise the things will not work, right? So if I just, let's say I don't want the filter from the country, I don't want. Okay, so it means selecting country should not change my data. So I've just put the date and the year here, and yeah, that's it. So it means now if I press enter, only year should change my data and the country should not change. So if I, let's say, now look at the number 5606. The moment I click on the France, this number will not change. This will change because this is all selected. So what you have selected, that will go here. So all type of calculations we have done. Okay, and here, let me just see that, because I think maybe I read that for you. What is it? That, okay, so this is the problem that you do want, that you need. I should write that you need. Only field that you need. Okay, and of course you can add as many filter context fields as you want. Fine. So this is how it is. So this is when you actually asked me that question, that here somebody asked me day before, I don't know, maybe the last weekend, that what will happen if I put the tax here, you know. So this is all about that answer. So now you are going to control the data by your choice. You are not now dependent on the DAX only. I mean, on the Power BI DAX rules, because you can manipulate with the data very easily by using these things. Now you can't say that if I drag and drop anything here, that number, if I don't want that number to change, you know, how I'm going to do that? Because by default, remember, filter context is always going to be applied. So in this sheet, basically what is happening, that just, so because this is a very important point, summary on all family. So the point is, by default, filter context is always applied on your visual. The moment you drag and drop the DAX, right? If you need the filter context, no need to do anything. All is good. If you want to avoid all filter context, inside or outside. Outside means coming from the outside. Inside means basically these, which are part of your table or the visual. These are the inside ones, right? So use all tags. Means ignore all filter context coming from slicers or any visual. Doesn't matter, right? If you need to have a field, if you need to see the total, but based on the selection, which means the filter context that you are applying, and use on selected tags. Right. gives us the total based on the selections, based on the selected values in the slicer or any visual, right? If you want to put only few fields into the context, which in from either a slicer or other visual, use all except. Whatever you will write in the column parameter of this function, that will tend to change the data. That will change the data. But the other ones which are not mentioned in the formula will have no impact on the data. Okay. Fine then, guys. Let's finish the next Saturday, hopefully, or maybe thanks.
Sir, I have a question one.
Yeah.
So the function what we saw, the DAX, all selected, all except and all. So is there any specific DAX in which we can use this, or we can use it in any DAX functions?
Which can
You're using it in the calculate, right? So
yes, you can. No, you can use this anywhere, wherever you are working with the table.
Okay.
Yes.
In the table.
Let's see if we have. But generally, I have seen most of the time this function is used with the calculate, because see, calculate is very versatile because it can do so many calculations. I mean, you can apply any formula and calculate, count rows, some average, this what do you call
condition based,
max GF, every type of function we use. So calculate is not just a calculate. It has a lot of flexibility. So, but yes, see, the point is that now why I've used this with the calculate, because understand basically calculate. So if you see here, understand the logic. If I'm using this, see, calculate first of all does the addition here. Now, if we don't use this, if we don't write this anything, and we just say that second parameter I'm not giving, it's fine. This works like a sum function only, as I was telling you. So why people will use? People will say, oh, sum is okay. Why I have to use this? So calculate is, that's why known for calculate if. Now the thing is that when this function works, you understand the last section also, when we use the calculate always is influenced by this parameter. What you write in this parameter. If I write in this parameter that suppose we have used today to filter, I say that the zone has to be east, the category has to be toy. So calculate is entirely dependent on this parameter, because this parameter supplies that expression, the data to this, so that this can be done. This calculation, the aggregate function can be applied. When you don't write anything, aggregate applies on the entire data. When you say I have a filter which let's say gives me the zone east, then that applies only on the east. So this is where that table we are providing to the calculate. In the last section, in the when we started the calculate also, if you see, let's use this calculate, let's say. So if you see this function, yes, this function, this is just simply the aggregate function. This is just the calculation. What that calculation depends upon what you have written here. So if I say that your table is going to have only the toys, the category toys, so it means that works on the toys category. So we are dealing here with the table, that the table we are supplying to the calculate. So when we are dealing with the table, when we are passing on the table, right, to some function, so we can use that all or all selected or all except. Okay, so it's because it's basically based on the table, because on the table you are telling, because ultimately the context, the filter context will come from the fields only, which means those fields will be a part of the table. So wherever in any DAX, wherever we have this sort of parameter which is asking for the table, we can use.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then let's meet guys tomorrow, next weekend, Saturday. Thank you.